Hi, this is 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today, we are looking at Windlands 2. Windlands 2 is the sequel to Windlands 1, which is an adventure-based first-person game that has a story that you will come to love as you develop your skills as one of the members of this new society. You will learn skills that you didn't think were possible, and you will become motion sick in ways that you never wanted to. Windlands 2 is definitely a game you're going to want to look at, and we're going to walk you through the review today. Our VR Gear game reviews cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. We're excited to review Windlands 2 with you today, and let's jump right in with getting up and running with Windlands 2. Windlands 2 can be found on all of the different VR game stores except for the PSVR store. Windlands 1 is available there, but Windlands 2 has not yet arrived on the PSVR store. It is available on the Vive port store, it's available in the Steam store and the Oculus store, and we were able to get it as part of a Vive Port Infinity subscription. The game price, if you're going to buy it, is $29 on all the stores, and if it's part of your Vive Port Infinity subscription, it's free as part of that subscription. The download file is 6 gigabytes in size, and once the download completes, installation is automatic and you'll be able to get up and running in no time. Except there is a very long introductory story that you can't really pass, and maybe you won't want to because it helps you orient yourself in the new world that you're going to be part of. The tutorial that happens right after the intro is extremely important, so don't miss that because it will help you understand how to get around in the world. Although it did seem like it went on for a while after you got the hang of different movements. This game is a first-person adventure game that will allow you to master different skills of movement as well as weapons and different strategy as you're fighting opponents. You will be swinging from different branches, you will be using grappling hooks, you will be using bow and arrow, and you will be jumping with low gravity, all as you play Windlands 2 to the tune of great amounts of motion sickness if you're sensitive to it. You'll play this adventure game from the first-person perspective, and you'll see nothing more than whatever tools are in your hand at any given moment. That includes your shield, bow and arrow, grappling hooks, and whatever other weapon you're able to use while playing the game. But you will be playing from the first-person perspective. You and the character you're playing is the one going through the storyline and being trained and taught and added to the army of other soldiers that are fighting off the gigantic enemies that have invaded the homeland. The theme of this game is self-development as the character you're playing in learning how to obtain all the skills necessary to fight off the gigantic monsters that have invaded your homeland. Your job is to find out what it was from this ancient mystical power that caused the downfall of the kingdom. And you will be pulled through this story as you're playing the game or as you're swinging through the game with your grappling hooks as you fight one boss after the other until you make it to the end. The game will start out with you being guided by someone who is more like a sage who's giving you advice and also introducing you to other people who will participate in the storyline. This person also acts as your guide during the tutorial who teaches you how to use your grappling hooks, your bow and arrow, and your shield, as well as jumping in low gravity. For controls, this game has very few controls, but they are actually pretty good. The controls used for moving around, the controls used for engaging with the enemy, and the controls for flying through the air with your grappling hooks, all of them were really great and easy to get accustomed to. As you get further into the game, you'll quickly realize that you're able to maintain your swing with a grappling hook and pull out your weapon at the same time, which allows you to evade oncoming assaults from the enemy and shoot your arrows at them. That was something that we learned, and it helped us get past a few of the bad guys. But in order to do that, you need to have good awareness of your surroundings and some pretty good coordination and a mastery of the controls, and that may take some time, but the controls are pretty robust. There's a lot of options there that allow you to swing and shoot and defend and jump all while you're playing. The only challenge is getting used to the style of movement. Otherwise, the controls were pretty well done. For music and sound, this game had a background soundtrack and some good sound effects to match the actions that you were participating in. However, there wasn't really anything that would stand out as far as the music goes, and the sound effects weren't really that impressive either. You are fighting off some alien robots, and the sounds that you hear when you're engaging with them are the simple sounds of breaking glass or an alien grunt or growl as they are being hit by your arrows. There wasn't much to the sound, although the spatial audio was engaging in that it told you what direction sounds were coming from and where the opponents were located. Outside of that, there wasn't too much more about the sound that made you feel really immersed. For player movement, there's a lot of options you can take advantage of while you're moving around inside of this game. There's the ability to walk forward, there's the ability to turn right and left, and there's the ability to jump, which if you hold down the jump button for a longer period of time, you remain airborne for a longer period of time. The game has low gravity to enable that. And the final way is using grappling hooks and swinging from branch to branch, one after the other, to make your way through areas where there is no platform to walk on. During the tutorial, you're given the option for rotation to be either smooth rotation or quarter turn rotations. We tried both, but the smooth rotations in VR, if you've experienced it, can be incredibly disorienting and cause motion sickness really fast. So we stuck with the quarter turn movements and we left everything else the default. For motion sickness, we were really hopeful that this game wouldn't be too bad, but as soon as we started to swing from branches and pull ourselves forward as we went from one branch to the next and landing on platforms and jumping in the air and turning around and all these different modes of movement, it was very clear that this game was going to be a very intense game and motion sickness was going to be right by your side or in your stomach the entire time. And as a result, we became very motion sick very fast, and we couldn't spend as much time in the game as we wanted to because motion sickness set on so quickly. This all had to do with the player movement. Now, in VR, it seems like a great idea to allow people to move in ways they've never dreamed of, and this game definitely tries to get people to move in ways they never actually have, and maybe in ways they've dreamed of, but when you have people see that they're moving in a certain way and they don't feel that they're moving that way, motion sickness is the result, and this game did exactly that. You saw that you were swinging from branch to branch. You saw that you were rotating in the world, but your physical body wasn't doing any of that. It was sitting stationary or standing stationary as this game can be played, and this resulted in motion sickness. For this game, the environment was very engaging and there was a lot of things that you could explore and do. The graphics weren't as high quality as some of the other titles that we've seen. It was somewhat of a low poly game, but it was very immersive because of the immense space that you were able to explore, and there's a lot of different areas that you can go and visit. As a result, you felt very immersed in this environment and you wanted to continue through it. The only problem is the motion sickness caused us to not want to stay too long in a place that we would have rather stayed if there was a different way to move about in the world. Overall, the environment was very well done. The storyline contributed a great amount to the immersion that we felt and the presence we felt as a character in the game. And so we really thought that the game developers did a great job in creating an environment that was very immersive for VR players. All right, so let's look at the overall scorecard for Windlands 2, starting with theme and story. This game had a very engaging theme, and it was a very good story that the developers put a lot of time into telling you as a player. We're giving this game an 8 out of 10 for theme and story. For controls, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. The controls in this game were intuitive, and as you began to master them, they were very easy to use, and you could rely on them in the heat of battle to fight off the enemy. There's a lot of great things that you can do in this game as you move about, and the controls really helped enable that in a good way. For music and sound, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. There was a lot of good music that was playing in the background as you went through the level, as you went through the tutorial, and as you played against the bosses at the end of each level. And there were some good sound effects as well. There is definitely some room for improvement to take the audio to the next level and make each element in the environment more interactive with more rich sound. But as far as the game goes, it did a really good job with music and sound, and a 7 out of 10 is a good score. For player movement, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. There were a lot of things you could do to get around. You could jump, you could run, you could rotate, you could swing from vines or your grappling hook cables. There was a lot of ways to move around, and all of these different methods were implemented very well. However, there are ways that you would want to move around that you wouldn't be able to, and this game really would be great if there were ways to move that didn't cause such motion sickness. As a result, a 7 out of 10 for player movement. For motion sickness, we're giving this game a 2 out of 10. That is a very low score. However, it isn't the lowest score. There are games that get a 1 out of 10. This game gets a 2 out of 10 because of the high amount of movement that is very disorienting and very different from the way that people move in the real world. And there is no corollary between what you're seeing and what you're feeling, and a result is a high likelihood that a player of this game will become motion sick. So a 2 out of 10 for motion sickness. And for environment and immersion, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. The environment was very well thought out. The layout was a lot of fun. There was a lot of different ways that you could move about, either through jumping or teleporting or through swinging with your grappling hook. And the gameplay was very immersive. There's a lot of different ways that you could go at your enemies, and the storyline really pulled you in and made you feel like you were part of the world. As a result, the game was very immersive, and the environment really contributed to that. And so a 7 out of 10 for environment and immersion. And now the overall score that we're giving Windlands 2 is a 6.3 out of 10. That's above average. The game was really fun to play. We did have some issues with motion sickness, but overall it was very well thought out. Developers told a great story, and they made an environment that was really compelling to stay in and play in. So we recommend that you go try out Windlands 2 if your stomach will allow it. If you are sensitive to motion sickness, you'll want to avoid this title. Otherwise, you'll get sick very fast, and it will take you a couple hours to recover. So if you're not sensitive to motion sickness, this is a great title to go and try. This has been 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so that you can receive a notification tomorrow when we release another VR game review. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.